Happy New Year, everybody! Welcome back to One Man's Tracks, the second-hand CD channel, and today we're going back to my very first year of album reviews, the first kind of awkward fumblings of this channel, and just kind of going over what I thought were some notable albums, some albums that were pleasantly surprising to me, my favorite albums, and some honorable mentions from that very first year. I've cleared out this rack here. I've got some CDs ready to go to talk about, and this is going to be my 2020 in hindsight video. So here we go. Let's just get going and get into what I got started with this first album here. We got Sukiyas. I gotta read the title because it's in Spanish and I can never remember it. Contacto especial con el tercer sexo. And this was a fantastic project to start this whole thing off. A left field, sort of wacky electronic project from the 90s. I didn't even realize at the time that the Dust Brothers produced this, and maybe I did read that, but I didn't understand who the Dust Brothers were until making those Chemical Brothers videos that I did just recently. So this was a fantastic way to start this whole thing off. Little did I know that there was actually some kind of connection there to some more stuff I could have learned about earlier, but just didn't really have the resources to look into them at the time. So worth trying out. The very first video on this channel. It's obviously the very first video on this channel, so don't expect much, but I have a great time with that album still, and it's worth just giving a good ride in the car once in a while, just to confuse yourself and confuse your pets, I guess. Another noteworthy album, we've got Daft Punk's Homework. I reviewed this really as a kind of pleasant surprise to me, being that I had kind of dissed Daft Punk as a high schooler and kind of thought, oh, they're too popular for me and they just kind of make the same whatever music, but got into it, felt out some of the intricacies. This early stuff was really an eye-opening project with those great bangers and just learning about their early history with Phoenix, and now more recently I've learned about with Stereolab that this band was great, and unfortunately I celebrated the very last Daft Punk day with this coming out on, I think, September 9th is Daft Punk Day, and them breaking up in February or March of this year, so Daft Punk is officially over, even though they hadn't really put out anything significant, I think, since about 2013. But still, noteworthy. We covered Daft Punk's Homework. I'm not a super huge fan of most of these videos that I'm going to be talking about, but the albums themselves still hold up great and are for sure worth checking out. And if you do want to see my little bit of an outdated opinion on it, there's always playlists of all these little subsections I've divided this video into right down below in the description there. Now it's time for a hat swap, because it's time to talk about Gnarbar. Gnarbar. It's Gnarbar. This was a fantastic find. I once again didn't really know what I was getting into. I hopped into the evaporators thinking, I like snowmobiling out in the winter time. It kind of feels British Columbia-y, and it most certainly is. We've got the Nard Man himself on vocals, and this is actually, I believe, one of the very first artists I actually got in contact with. I sent the video out to Gnarbar, and he emailed me back, I think, within a week, and so it was just such an exciting experience for me as a new YouTuber, new music reviewer, for some positive feedback from an artist himself. I was blown away, and it really was super motivational to get that message, so thank you so much, Nard Man. I appreciate the hell out of you. I'm just kidding, I'm not going to do that. We're moving on to another, well, almost band reached out to me, the website, theoutfield.com. Big shout out. They shared the video I made about Play Deep. I think it was the last video, or maybe second to last video I put out in 2020, and I don't know, I had such a great time revisiting this kind of new wavy power pop ballady, just anthemic awesome album. 10 tracks, it jams. I like it so much I found it on vinyl. Got even Voices of Babylon as well, so two great Outfield albums to spin on wax. I got them, I think, for $1 or $2 each, so it was a no-brainer. Gotta love the Outfield. And then the last in the Noteworthy Albums section of this video is my most viewed review of the year, and I think my second most viewed review ever. It's Silverchair's Neon Ballroom. You guys love Silverchair, and I don't blame you. They slap from first album to last album. They change it up really effectively. Their production's on point. They're a great band. They were awesome. I think Daniel Johns is coming out with solo stuff. I still haven't learned how to pronounce the others' names, and I guess that's on me. So keep on rocking. Emotion Sickness, and a song it's just bam bam bam. It rocks. Enjoy it. Check out that review. Thank you to everyone who's watched that already. Moving on. This section of the video is pleasant surprises. These albums I picked up with a little bit of a preconception about them, and then came out of it like, holy moly, I gotta talk about this. Like, If Naked, for one, didn't really have much of an idea, but still was kind of a bit biased. Maybe high school me didn't like one of her songs, but this album slaps. Yeah, Make Like a Tree, Daddy's Getting Married. I love Succulent. My bike, can't go wrong with a song about my bike. And she's just cool. She's super cool. I can't say enough good things about Biff. Oh, Warrant. This is a late 80s kind of glammy, metal-y project that I totally didn't expect to like, but cover got me, and I don't know, it just gets me going. It jams. It's nothing crazy or special, but something they come together really well on the project. I don't know, they've got some hits. I really don't understand why this connected so well with me, but damn, I can go through it and just bang my head. Maybe it's a good just driving through the sticks kind of album, but pleasantly surprised by Warrant. Extreme puts together an eclectic mix, but similarly kind of glam metal-y throughout, but from the Decadent Dance and Little Jack Horty to they got songs like More Than Words that kind of eclipse the band itself. This album keeps kind of bringing something to the table that'll keep me interested, and so another pleasant surprise there. Potentially the most pleasant surprise is Sugar Ray. This album, Floored, of course, is just totally not at all what I thought it was going to be. I really only knew Sugar Ray for Fly and, you know, the hits. Every morning I'm pretty sure Sugar Ray went in after This is the direction, so I was really pleasantly surprised that they were kind of a speedy, thrashy group that puts together some hard-hitting bangers that I can't deny are slapping, fucking in your face, a pretty good time, and I still feel a little cringy just jamming out to Sugar Ray, but this album is not terrible. Don't pass it up if you see it for like 50 cents or $1. It's worth a try. Similar note, I'd forgotten who Savage Garden were, and so I picked up one of their albums and realized, holy moly, it's just all hits. And sure, it can feel a little bit corny and very dated at this point in some people's minds, but when you get a little taste of that nostalgia and you just kind of want to have a carefree, kind of laid-back listen, this will have you singing along and it'll make you feel good while you're doing it. And I guess second most surprising, Mix-a-Lot, Mack Daddy. This album just kept growing on me. I put it on as just a bit while I was moving into the second location this channel was at. And man, I didn't take it out of the car for like a week or two because it just bangs. Really off-brand for a guy that looks like me, but damn, I think this album is heavily underrated. It got eclipsed, let's use that word again, by the track Baby's Got Back. You know it, everybody knows it, but man, throw the album on, have a great time. It's similarly nostalgic to Savage Garden, but kind of in a totally opposite lane. Now, the third section is the quickly honorable mentions. Just going to run through some albums that I still really enjoy that just didn't make the top 5. Circle Jerks, Wild in the Streets. Good old punkin' fun, jamming, you know, get crazy. A little bit of protest music in there. Enigma's second album here really grabbed me with its great production, the layering, the ambiance, the naturalistic feel some of the tracks have, the worldy feel that a lot of this album has. I grabbed a couple more Enigma albums after trying this one out. I'll show you. Got over here. We got the first one, and we also got The Screen Behind the Mirror. 2 excellent Enigma albums that I'm happy to own. Next, Horrified Star, CCTV, fun, in-your-face kind of punky rock from the UK. I think these tracks are super catchy and they get me going when I put them on for sure. We got Joe Satriani, some more great ambience, but this time it's the rock legend. It's the guitarist, Guitar Man. I certainly grabbed some more of Joe when I saw him more recently. Got a couple more Satriani's in the mix, but Surf with the Aliens still I think is my favorite I've found so far. Great, fun, and I got my dog in the thumbnail for it, so it's a win-win-win. Ooh, probably the most honorable of all the mentions. We've got Massive Attack's Blue Lines, and damn, man, just the bass lines alone on this thing. You just are flowing and rolling from the get-go. Safe from Harm, undeniable track. Him with the Big Wheel is that pickup at the end that wakes you up from that trip-hop kind of mesmerizing, hypnotic feel that this album gives you. Some of the hip-hoppy lines, the delivery doesn't age super well, but overall, wow, great album, and one of the first ones I reviewed, so that video is a big mess, but this album definitely isn't. Michelle Indegeocello, Plantation Lullabies, Neo Soul, Dream, just flowy, really soulful. Gotta love Michelle. I picked up a couple of her albums as well. We've got Bitter, as well as a John Mellencamp collaborative album, and stoked to have those. She's really talented. One of the saddest albums, but also one of the funnest albums I reviewed, OMC's How Bizarre. This Polynesian legend just hits me with pretty much every single track here. I come back to this in the summertime for a good month or two just to have that land of plenty feeling. It's just so fun, and it breaks my heart that that's all we ever got from Pauli, so give it another go. Rip through another TikTok meme show of how bizarre. It's just always a good time. A rockin' good time here. My Christmas special from 2020 is Paranoid and Sunburnt by Skunk and Etsy. Ooh, Skin's vocals are just so hard-hitting, and her lyrics just punch, 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 bam, bam, bam. I like Skunk and Etsy. They're just real sort of Rage Against the Machine-y feel, their quality about them, just great. Almost everything about this band ruled from the get-go, and Skunk and Etsy is an artist I've been looking to try to get some more albums of, but just haven't been lucky enough to find them. And lastly, in the honorable mentions, we've got Rotting Pinata by Sponge. Just a fun project that I think is kind of overlooked when the grunge albums are all brought up. I think this one just sneaks into the conversation, and I don't know, it's worth the listen if you haven't heard it already. We've gotten through that big stack of albums. We're getting to the top 5. But first, I forgot to tell you that I got a tricky album thanks to Massive Attack, and it's super good. Blowback is a ridiculous project that I super enjoy, so check this one out too. Now, number 5 favorite album that I reviewed in 2020 is Spacehog's Resident Alien, baby! Woo, 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 woo! In the meantime, comes out and just obliterates you. Oh my goodness, the just emotions, the waves, the theatrical quality of that song. Ugh. I'm annihilated from the get-go, and then they hit me with catchy track and all kinds of different stylistic directions, and it's just so interesting start to finish. The Is It Likely at the end is not really a good time. The droney, kind of squealy ambience really just surprises you if you accidentally forget you left the CD on. It's just a little spoiler for you. It's kind of like the worst song that the very first band that I'm going to be reviewing this 2022 could have possibly made. So if you can figure that out, you might understand what album I got picked out right there. Spacehog, In the Meantime, number 5. Superb. At number 4, we've got Blind Melon's self-titled debut album, Ba-Bam. Might also qualify for best hat use in a video. I wore a melon on my head for the whole time, but I covered it up with the B-girl hat that I had, so I just like that I kind of became the melon but didn't outwardly show it so much, and I think it's a funny quality of that video. Overall, I do think that video is pretty good, and I think this album, start to finish, just grabs me, and after I listen to it a few times, I am just so deep into the melon that I can't get enough. I got super stoked when I picked up a copy of Soup, and I'm so close to just being fully meloned out. I hope I can get a live album or something. One Melon frickin' ruled, man. On to number 3. We've got Shaka Demus and Pliers, All She Wrote. It's a bit of a wild card, I think, maybe. I don't know. If you watch all the videos, you know I dug this album from basically start to finish as well. So many catchy grooves. Another summery feeling album, so maybe the winter time it might not rank as high, but I think I've fully kind of realized now after separating myself by over a year that this album still holds up. The tracks rock. I don't know. Murder She Wrote, Road Runner, Friday Evening, Sunshine Day. I catch myself just singing like little riffs from this album. Bam bam. Tease me. No better than yeah. Gotta find this thing just, I don't know, reggae dance hall jams all the way through. I guess I'm a real sucker for reggae, but I just never stumble across a lot of it, so this came into my life and just grooved me for a good long while. Continues to, really. On to number 2. We've got Ray Lynch's Deep Breakfast. Just a gorgeous synth dream this album is. If you want to have just a better day, just plunk on the opening track every morning. You got Celestial Soda Pop, and then you gotta let the Old Pleasure play too. First 2 songs, and you'll just be in a better mood. It'll uplift you, just puts you on a cloud. I am just consistently thrilled every time. Ray Lynch, you absolute gemstone. Another one of the very first artists that I ever got to interact with in like text form. He talked back and forth with me. It was very, very cool. Ray Lynch is a down-to-earth, just top-notch gentleman. Highly, highly, highly recommend you get into Deep Breakfast. Another one of the very first ones I reviewed, actually. Just because it was so good, I had to get into it. We're on to the #1 album, my favorite Hindsight album of 2020. The best discovery, thanks to this channel, was... It's Big Audio Dynamite to the globe! Hell yeah, we got big audio, and I can't get enough. We rush. Oh man, just the whole thing. Even the tea party, the whole, bring it all together. Innocent child. Oh, yes. I am always just singing the globe. Come on and dim the lights, it's party time. Flick on the strobe, do what you like. We're gonna have a ball tonight, let's have a ball. Down at the globe, here we go now. Can't get it out of my head even years later. This album slaps, and Big Audio has a ton of great stuff for me to dig into still. I am just over the moon. Big Audio Dynamite, #1 album of 2020. Thank you for discovering. Very much excited to be able to share all these musics. All these musics are so wonderful, and I cannot believe I was missing out on all this great music. I'm just so happy that I managed to stick with this whole thing. I've got a whole another stack. I've got even more albums from last year. Oh, it's going to be a happy 2022. I'm going to get out to more thrift shops. We're going to find some great collections to just basically steal off people. They're giving this stuff away still, guys. Get some CDs while you can, because these are going to be less and less accessible, believe me. Thank you a million for watching. I look super forward to sharing some more excellent and exciting and intriguing artists with you in the next years and years to come. Have a most wonderful 2022. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon with the first real review of the year.